Hi everyone, it's Jemima, the Connection Coach. This month's masterclass is about moving intentionally and creating from our desire. I'm going to go through a little bit of the spiral process, which is how I have come to organize the way that I hold space for people, the way that I teach, and how I bring people back to their own power and agency. It's also a really amazing way to not slip into spiritual bypassing, that tempting place where you proclaim love and light and you skim over the painful or traumatic events that are part of being human. It's important that we honor our experiences and our story so that we can glean the learnings from that story and take them with us. That's part of our creating with intentionality, is that we are sifting and sorting, and we're observing the contrast, and we are making decisions from that place of sovereign self, where we know who we are and who we came here to be, and we are deciding and we are creating from our desire. So first of all, I just want to go through the main 4 components of the spiral process. So this process came to me at the beginning of a yoga retreat that I was running. I was co-running, I'm sorry. So I wanted to make sure that there was some kind of coherence to our time together. It was all women and we had 4 days together. And as I made space, had a meditation and made space for the information to come through, I didn't know this was going to be like the template to all my work from that point. It was just the template for that 4-day experience. But it's actually a really powerful one. And the order of things matters. So it begins with our intention, with our desire. And that's a question that I ask very often in my coaching work, is what is your desire? Now, it can take a little while to get to the bones of our desire, especially as often we have been conditioned to not come forwards with our desire. We've been conditioned to shield it, or to pretend that we're happy without, or to settle. So it's a really big question, what is my desire? And when it is approached in this spacious way, and we actually bring curiosity to what our intention may be, we start to ascertain the amount of power that is intrinsic in us moving from who we know ourselves to be. If we are just buffeted about by life and we are in a state of reacting to what happens to us, then there is a lot of wasted energy. If we hold intention from this space of who we know ourselves to be, we are directing our energy from the very start. So we are immediately seeing whether something that comes towards us is going to be welcome and embraced, or whether it's something that we don't have time or room or energy for right now, because it will distract us from the path that we're on. So intention is the very first section of any kind of meaningful self-development work, and it really can add to a clarity and a surety about who you are and who you know yourself to be. That's part one. Part two is body wisdom. And this probably originates from two places. I've taught and practiced yoga for over 20 years. And I have come to understand so much through the vehicle of my body that I could never have understood at that level just with my thinking mind. That's the first place. The second place is when I was growing up, when I was very young, often the experience of my body, the truth of my body was denied. I was often told what I wanted or what I didn't want, or variously, I can't think of the word right now, but my experience within my body, I knew it to be strong and I knew it to be truthful. And often the adults who were in my world, and as a small child, your world is run by the adults in it, often did not give that the credence that I knew it to have. So there was this odd sensation of trusting what was happening, but then also confusion that the caregivers or adults denied that reality. As a functioning adult myself, I've relearned how to make space for, listen, honor my own body, and to interpret all of its signals so that I don't need to be at the mercy of them. So for instance, a sensation of anxiety that is passing through the body can be categorized and understood and then treated with compassion and investigated with curiosity, and can be allowed to move through without taking over the whole experience of being here and having it run the show. So this is really the part of body wisdom that can be the most impactful if it's some excuse me, if it's something that you are not au fait with dealing with, or something that you feel you need to get more experience with. This can often have a huge impact. So dealing with the body as you might deal with a child who was acting up, and you know that it's because they are tired or hungry or upset about something. So you don't offer kind of inappropriate discipline or demands on that child, because you understand there is an underlying reason why these things are manifesting. And it's the same with our bodies. So if we can just come to that place of wanting to learn and really wanting to be present for ourselves, and to start to get really clever at interpreting the nuanced signals that we receive from our body, then we have information that is valuable to us and we are able to act accordingly. It's like being very, very good at a second language. So the nuance of understanding is very hard to explain until you are proficient at that second language. And they often say that you start to dream in the second language when you get really good at it. And it's a similar thing with your body. So once you get really good at interpreting the signals, you kind of get to see it coming. So you don't get so sabotaged. There is not this sense of disappointment in how your body is letting you down or treating you. There's more an appreciation for actually what a sensitive antenna the body is, and how it can give us this level of insight that we could never get with our thinking minds. So body wisdom is super, super important when it comes to living with intention and creating from our desire. The third pillar of the spiral process is mind mastery. And mind mastery is the thing that will prevent us from getting stuck in loops that keep us still. So the mind is so clever, and if we are unused to the cleverness of its ways, then we can get trapped in thought loops, patterns of consciousness that don't necessarily serve us. So understanding that there is a separateness between who you know yourself to be and the activity in your mind is one of the things that can assist in living intentionally and not being run by our story. So paying the story honor and being aware of it is really different to being run by it. And it is so often the case that the things that we are unconscious to are the things that will run our experience. And it will keep us repeating in ways that keep us very sad and small. So mind mastery is the third pillar. The fourth pillar in living intentionally is conscious communication. And obviously I talk a lot about this. It's one of my favorite subjects. It's something that comes from my experience of not knowing how to express my needs and desires and my truth, and learning how to do that, and learning how to do that with some sense of power and agency. So when we can communicate consciously with those around us, we are given a much fuller sense of freedom because we are in alignment. We don't have to remember any lies that we've told. We don't have to play small with people, and we don't have to put up with communication that is unclear or that we find not helpful in terms of just operating like adult human beings. So learning how to communicate is one of the greatest ways that we can not only stay in connection, but that we can learn how to repair connections, because they get messed up. Like, we are human and that's just what happens. But once we have learned some of the basic skills of how to consciously communicate, then we are far more able to repair those connections when they get broken, and to begin to really express our truth in a way that other people can hear us. And that is the key, is that you can shout all day long and it's very hard for people to hear you when you are coming from a space of having to get something out because you've been squashing it down for so long. So this happens so often. You know, if you're not used to using your voice, it can come out a bit too loud or squeaky or weird. And in order to get that smoothness and to get used to being able to speak gracefully so that others can hear you, then it takes practice. So that's conscious communication. That's the fourth and final pillar of the spiral process. And it's called the spiral process because we go round the top layer and we have these aha moments and we learn, wow, these principles, yeah, they're really useful. And then we go round again and we go underneath the top layer. And it happens at various times. You might find that maybe years go by until you get the second layer of learning, or maybe it's a short time, but learnings drop in that are related to each of those pillars of the spiral process. And we just keep on going around as long as we're alive and as long as we are dedicated to our own evolution and to being the clearest version of who we know ourselves to be in this life. So it's never finished. You'll never get it done. But once you learn the principles of how to navigate your experience and how to express yourself and how to stay connected with others, then you are able to do this graceful dance of taking the learnings as they come and adjusting and creating a life from your desire and your truth. And this is worth everything. It's worth so, so much. So I hope that those 4 pillars of the spiral process are useful. There are a few points that I just wanted to highlight in terms of the practical application of this as a masterclass. So whenever you come to a troublesome interaction or a painful happening between you and another, it's often soothed and softened by a few key principles. And the first one is owning your path. So once you have a clarity on who you are and on the kind of life that you are creating, then you have a sense of your trajectory through this life. And it becomes really clear to see whether someone is coming with you or not. And I say that in the broadest sense. So it could be a love relationship, it could be friend, it could be family. And those that come with us are the ones who are able to and are willing to support us, and who are ready to support us in ways that will be helpful and ways that don't detract from them. And those that can't come with us are those who are not ready, willing, or able to do that on some level. And obviously we use conscious communication to make agreements about what those levels are and how we are connected with people and what the expectations are, etc. But owning our path means that in that knowledge, we will create the kind of boundaries and structure that supports the path that we're on. So that, as I stated at the beginning, you know if someone is coming towards you and it's not in alignment, you know to not let them in any further. Or if someone is coming towards you and it does feel in alignment, then you can walk together for a certain amount of the way. And that is also a part of living and part of life that is, it can be a really hard thing to deal with, is that some people are just meant to be with us for some part of the way and not the rest. And there is a grace in understanding that and in appreciating the connection for the time that it has existed and letting it go with grace. The second part is letting others be who they are. This really follows on from the first point. So again, when we know who we are and where we're going, it can be simpler to get a good measure of those others in our lives and who they are and where they're going, and the fundamentals that make them who they are, and the energy that they bring, and what their desire is. If it's unclear, despite attempts at conscious communication, then that is a sign in itself, in the same way that no communication is a communication. So again, it's that idea of grace, the idea of letting other people be who they are and knowing that they too have their own path is, there's a maturity in that not many people have got to. It's because there can be a lot of grief also within that. Is that you have to just let people be who they are, and they will show you. If you let them, they'll show you who they are as well. And then you have to make your decisions about whether it's in alignment or whether it is not, and to do that with grace and to follow your Dharma and to be on your path no matter what. The third thing is having the vision. So this really comes from desire, and vision is born out of desire. You start to have the feeling, you start to notice what is not wanted, and you start to trickle in images and qualities and thoughts and feelings and sensations about what is wanted and what wants to be created. So the vision often comes before any of the detail. This is the overarching sketch of what needs to happen next. It's the clue to your next piece of inspired action. And it takes space. So preparing the conditions for receiving the vision is part of your work. It's part of your work to do a daily practice, to regularly drop into states of meditation, to make sure that your body is healthy and soothed and your nervous system is working as optimally as possible. And the vision comes. The vision is something that will come through you once you've prepared the space. So it's not something you have to really think about or you have to try and conjure up. It's something that kind of drops into you once the space is cleared and prepared, which is also why it's super important to regularly address the residue of being a human. So we get residue that collects in our body from just the normal pain of every day being human, and paying good attention to that and to the process of clearing it allows us to have this space for this vision to drop in. Okay, the practical application of all of these things that I've been talking about. At the moment, as this is recording, it's the end of the year. So I think we're on the 30th of December of 2020. And there are just a couple of questions to help you apply some of this knowing. And actually, it doesn't matter when you check in to this masterclass. You could do it at the end of a month. You could do it at whatever point in time you are on, because whatever point of time you're in, like that is the end point of time for that moment. So you can do this anytime. The two really powerful questions are, the first one is a statement for you to complete. I am no longer available for. And then you make a list. Make a list of the things that you are no longer available for. Now, this could take some soul searching, maybe some heartache. It takes a very honest review of what has gone in the recent past, or even the far past. Just to really address and make that conscious decision about what you are no longer available for. So writing the answers to that. provide you with your boundaries. And from there, you create your container to fill up with your essence. The second question helps you fill up the container. It's not a question, sorry, statement. I am calling in. And here is your chance to write down all the things that you are calling in and that you're welcoming and that you have now created space for. Because that is the thing about boundaries, is that not only do they create the edges for your container, but they also repel the things that take up space that you don't want. So then you are left with this container so that you can fill it up with all the things that you're calling in, and you can call in support as well. You can call in support on any level without knowing where that's going to come from or how. It is purely the intention of being open to receive that is going to help you come into this state of opening, of kind of feminine receptivity and softness that allows you to be able to receive and to hold these things that are in alignment with your desire and your intention, and that are actually going to provide the foundation for you to live this life that you know is the life you're meant to be living, which is such an exciting prospect, that you know who you came here to be, and your business now is to create the conditions for you to thrive. And in that thriving, everybody else thrives as well. So when you are fully topped up and nurtured and on fire and sexually potent and connected and able to consciously communicate, everyone around you benefits, your community benefits, your family benefits, all of your relationships benefit. And you begin to create from your center how you wish things to be. Imagine the power in that. Imagine the power for good within that. It's simply amazing. So I hope that these statements and principles and pillars have been useful to you, and give it 24 hours and see what bubbles up for you. Let it percolate, and maybe do some journaling. And for those who are watching this in real time, Happy New Year to you, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.